Okay, so let's get real about the inner critic. In this video, I'm going to talk about exactly what the inner critic is and what we all have it for. Then I'll talk about the antidote to an inner critic that's in overdrive and how we can turn that around and have a much more balanced inner critic. So, defining what the inner critic is, essentially our ego. We have this internal dialogue, this internal narrative that is constantly going and giving us feedback about our behavior, our actions, our success, and our failure. So usually when we have an inner critic going into overdrive, we have received some sort of failure feedback. So this might be rejection from a romantic partner, rejection from a job, rejection in one of those main domains in life. So something that we think that we definitely deserve and should get, and then we receive that rejection and we receive that failure feedback from the environment. Romantic relationships are a really good example. Maybe we are continuously pursuing the opposite sex and we have a particular type, but we are constantly getting rejected and we don't think we should. We think we deserve to be able to attain a relationship with someone that we want. So then the inner critic is going off and beating ourselves up, and we're down on ourselves because we have failed. Essentially, we've gotten failure feedback from the environment. This is a built-in mechanism. It is divine in its design. So things that occur naturally within humanity, sometimes we don't like it because it gives us these negative feelings and negative experiences, but it is part of the design, and it's part of the design for survival. In our history as humans, we need to have that internal dialogue giving us feedback about the environment and where we stand in it constantly. So we need the inner critic to be saying, don't do this, don't do that, because we're constantly analyzing. It's constantly a cost-benefit analysis. If I act in this way, it's going to benefit me in that way, or it's going to cost me a lot, but it's worth it because of this, or it's not worth it because of that. It's just this constant process that's always going on within us, where we are weighing things up to see what will benefit us and what will cost us too much and be to our detriment. So that inner critic and that failure feedback dialogue that we get is necessary so that we can stay safe, so that we are not humiliated, so that we are successful in our endeavors, both professionally and romantically and in housing. So we need the inner critic to be there to keep us in check, essentially. So if your inner critic is really, really active, and perhaps you're even experiencing some depression, it's actually very rarely some sort of chemical imbalance. Now, this is a controversial topic. There are lots of people who would argue against me, and there was lots of people who are pro-drug therapy, whereas I am pro-drug therapy only as an absolute last resort. Most of us don't have that chemical imbalance. Usually if we are depressed, it's actually for a very good reason. We are probably not achieving what we know we can achieve in at least one or more areas of our lives. So this inner critic is telling us, come on man, like get it together, you can do better than this. So then how can we change this, or how can we reduce the inner critic? So I want to start by saying what doesn't work. So what doesn't work is affirmations. That is the biggest crock I've ever come across in my life. Again, potentially controversial, but you can say things over and over in your head a million times, but you cannot control the inner critic. It will always respond to the environment and where you stand in it. No amount of repeating a statement in your head over and over is going to make you believe it. And if you don't believe me, then I invite you to try it. I invite you to go around and all day, every day, tell yourself that you're a cat and that you can meow, and everyone's going to believe you're a cat. And I can tell you that you're never going to believe it, because it's not true, right? So if something's actually not true, you cannot convince yourself with any number of affirmations that it is true. I'll tell you what else won't combat the inner critic. All the yoga and meditation in the world. So sure, if you want to be a guru and go off to the Himalayas and sit on a mountain and completely deprive yourself from everyday life and do all the yoga and meditation, yeah, you're going to be relaxed and you're going to think that you're enlightened as well. But the moment you step back into Western world and have to go about a daily life, have a regular job, deal with finances, deal with the cost of living, deal with housing, you're going to be right back where you started. Yoga and meditation can help to calm your nervous system down during periods of anxiety, but it will not make the inner critic shut up for good. It doesn't work. This is the enlightenment trap. This is the whole delusion and illusion that all of the gurus sell about get enlightened and control your ego, control your inner critic. You cannot escape your humanity unless you actually escape the environment. It is the environment that you can change in that scenario, but you cannot change yourself to that degree. You are human. You are always going to be human. You're going to have this biochemical factory inside you that's going to be constantly working within the environment that it has, and it's going to give you feedback about that. You can't control that. I'm passionate about this because I bought into the enlightenment lie. It's not really a thing unless you go and deprive yourself from Western society. You cannot change that. You can't change your personality to that degree. Another thing that the antidote isn't is getting drunk, getting high, binge eating, any of those things we do to escape. So sure, it will temporarily give us an escape route if we don't want to deal with it at that exact time and in that exact moment. But if you've tried that, then you probably already know that that's not really a good way to overcome an overactive inner critic. So what can we do then? So the things that we can do, number one would be to assess your expectations. So again, if it's a romantic relationship, do you think that you are better than you actually are? So this could be a matter of improving yourself or updating your expectations. The environment is telling me that I can't get what I want. So I can't get a model. A model doesn't want to date me. Like, wow. So do I need to let go of that idea that I need to date a model, or I need to date a doctor, or I need to date this particular type of person? If in reality you have not been successful in obtaining that relationship, then potentially you need to adjust your expectations. The other thing that you might do instead, or as well as, is improve yourself. So if your inner critic is beating you up and saying things, kind of listen to it. What is it inside? What is your internal narrative saying inside that you can do better at? Maybe you can get more fit. Maybe you can get better at communicating. Maybe you can improve the way that you present yourself and take more care of your grooming. It could be any number of things. So what things can you improve about yourself? Get educated, get better. In some situations, however, self-improvement won't fix the problem. So we might actually just have to adjust our goals, which I already touched on. But can we instead set up some sub goals? So if we're depressed and we've sort of said, okay, I'm not gonna date anyone anymore at all, what is potentially sub goals you can engage in where you know you're going to be successful, and then you can potentially build on those? Or some different goals, some alternative goals that are more realistic, that you're more likely to attain. As we start setting goals that are challenging enough that it will give us satisfaction once we attain it, not so far out of our reach that we're dreaming, but then also not too easy. We need to have some more realistic goals, and then as we attain them, we build some more confidence, and then that inner critic will turn around, 100% guarantee. Once you do actually start succeeding, that inner critic will start to say different things. So we need it. It's essentially a survival mechanism. It is part of our nervous system, and we have to learn how to work with it and how to listen to it and help ourselves by taking action as opposed to trying to change our minds. There's this huge misconception that we can change our minds. Yes, we can become more educated. So that is one way of changing our minds, is that we can learn new information and then it makes us see something we could never see before. Now that is quite powerful, and that is the most effective way of changing your mind. But you can't stop these inbuilt mechanisms and the way that the mind works. We think as humans we have more power to change ourselves than we do, but we don't. Our personalities are really quite powerful and they're really quite potent, and there's not a lot we can do to actually change our personalities. We can change our behavior, we can change our actions, we can change our approach to certain things, but your actual personality, if you speak to your parents, there were things that you were doing that were part of your personality and the way that you were dealing with challenges in life, part of your personality as a toddler, and they have just been with you through the whole lifespan. So there's been very little impact of the environment in terms of your personality, and more impact coming from what situation are you in, and then how do you act in each one of those situations. There's a huge topic and I'm not going to go too deep into it right now. In summary, that is how to deal with the inner critic, is to actually listen to it and take some action. Some big opportunity for self-reflection and self-improvement. Journaling can help, a therapist can help to get you framing things and get you to see things that maybe you can't see, that you can try and readjust your expectations and your goals. And rest assured that your inner critic is meant to be there, and it is part of the fine design of the human nervous system and the human experience. So if you like the video, comment, let me know below, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.